What's up, everybody? It's your girl, your host, A. Millie, and welcome to the Sip and Sit. Tonight's guest, I have the pleasure to interview a host. He is a businessman. He is an author. He goes by the name of Courtney Starks. He will be stopping by the Sip and Sit, and we're going to learn about his journey because his journey is so inspiring, and I cannot wait to just talk with him and let him share what he all has went through to get to where he is now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. I do this every week. So if you know somebody that is a business owner, that is an artist, that has a unique story, send them on my way. And Courtney Starks is in here, and I'm going to request him, and we're going to start this interview. I hope you guys are Thursday, almost Friday, so I'm looking forward to the weekend, and there he is. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're looking good.
Thank you. I had to make sure, I was fly for the day. You know what I mean?
Listen, look, I had to put my makeup on because, the last couple of episodes I've been slacking a little bit. So I was like, wait a minute, Courtney Starks, TV host, author, let me look cute. Let me put on my face for Mr. Starks, okay?
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, Courtney, welcome to the Sip and Sit. It's such an honor, such a pleasure to have you on my platform. So can you just tell me and some of your supporters and some of my supporters on here, who is Mr. Courtney Starks?
I love when people ask me this question. So I always tell people, my name is Courtney Starks, and I'm a fat kid from Brooklyn with a dream, right? I had a dream that, I wanted to be this media mogul. I wanted to be able to go out and inspire a generation of people who, like myself, just needed someone that was there to remind them that despite what social media says or what the world is saying, that love, joy, and community still reigns. It's still here. And we get lost in the false narratives that are created about our stories, and no one is around to build the platforms or to create the platforms that are going to allow people like ourselves to create our own narratives and to share real stories in real time. And by the grace of God, I was afforded the opportunity to do just that with my platform.
I love that. I love how you said media mogul, because when I looked you up and I was like, oh my gosh, media mogul, like all the credentials, it was like boom, 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 boom. But what you said, to have a space of creativity, to give back to the community. And that's one thing that I love about connecting with other like-minded individuals like yourself who are in media, and that just really touches, my soul. I want to ask you about your journey. How did you get started in entertainment, and what was your inspiration to really just, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna become this media mogul.
It's so crazy because when I first started Courtney's Corner in 2010, it was just to have a space because we were literally in that age where we had aged out of high school, we were in college, and we weren't ready. We weren't prepared. We were lost. In this from going from being coddled all through high school to now being thrown out and being told that we are adults. You know what I mean? We were not prepared. We were going through a cycle. In urban areas, they're not teaching you sex ed. They're not teaching you financial education. They're not teaching you the main things we need to know as adults. So you go out into this world and you're lost, you're broken, you're confused, you don't know your left from your right, but then they want you to pay a bill. They want you to pay a mortgage. They want you to have kids, and they want to throw life at you so fast, and you're not ready. And I realized that a lot of us just weren't having the conversation because we were afraid. We didn't know how. We didn't know what to say or who to say it to. You know what I mean? And that started just a conversation that I would actually have on my Facebook page. And I always tell people, I didn't even name the show. I had gotten sick, and I put it on hiatus for a bit, because I was sick. It was hard for me to grapple with what I was going through and try to be this light or this platform for people. And I remember somebody hitting my DMs like, yo, when are you bringing Courtney's Corner back? And I was like, what is that? And she was like, your show. And I was like, boom, There it
It's
goes.
like that light kind
Yes,
of went off in your head. Like,
yes,
I got
and
to bring this back.
it was the right. That was the show. And after I got my transplant, I was saying to myself, well, what am I going to do now, right? Like I'm working, I'm doing these things, I'm making these, paving these ways for myself, but I knew that there was so much more. And I'm asking and I'm praying and I'm saying to myself, what is next? What am I supposed to do now? And I remember God just being like, showing me like Courtney's Corner, like you need to do that. Like that's what I blessed you with. But this time around, it's not just about being lost in the way of like just not being an adult, but now being lost as a generation because every day we wake up, one of our people are dying.
Yes.
We're living in communities where there are so many social issues that are plaguing us, but there's no one there to tell our stories, or they're telling, once again, they're still telling their own narrative. They've opened up Pandora's box but left us there to close it, and we don't know how. So we're in this community raising lost generations after us, and somewhere, somehow, some way, someone needs to jump in and go enough. And I relaunched the brand, right? I told myself, and I had this prayer: God, if this is what you want me to do, make it plain, make it clear, because I don't have time to decipher all of the nursery rhymes. Let this be very, very clear. And He made it very clear to me, and I have been nonstop since 2018.
Wow, 2018, that's 4 years, but with you starting in 2010, I liked how you said, you talked about financial literacy. You talked
Yeah,
about so many things that I know, I'm pretty sure we're probably in the same age range, 34,
yeah,
35.
yeah,
We were not taught financial literacy. We were not taught how to balance a checkbook. And,
yep,
I still don't know. I'm just going to be real
mm,
with you. But
yeah,
that right there has always been a problem, especially for me. I grew up in the South. I'm from the South. We did not learn that. If you go back to our grandparents' age or our parents' age, that's what they were taught in schools. They were taught the home economics to
yes,
really how to take care of yourself. We were,
mm-hmm,
our generation, like you said, opened up a Pandora's box.
yes,
And we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? How do we go from point A to point B? And I just like how you said, you talk about these topics on your show, and we will get to that in a minute. But I have not heard that in so long about financial literacy, and I'm just
yeah,
glad that you said that and you touched on that.
yeah. It's big, right? It's really, really big. Like you were saying, like I don't have a checkbook because I wouldn't even know what to do with one, right? Like
Me
we're not, if it's not through Zelle or Cash App, don't talk to me because
right,
I don't I
exactly.
I don't know what you're really saying, and because we're already in an age in ourselves where if we don't know it, we ain't gonna know it.
Exactly.
And that's where we are sometimes because of what we are programmed, right? So it's kind of like, how do you deprogram what you've been taught so that way you can learn and educate yourself the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that's the battle that we're having right now.
Exactly. And I love that. I love that. I want to talk about your journey and some of the challenges that you have been faced with getting into the entertainment industry. Can you share a little bit about your journey and what challenges you had to overcome?
Just kind of finding your voice in the middle of all of
Mm,
the voices telling you what your show or what your niche or what your thing should be like,
mm,
right? A lot of times, we we just want to make it so
yes.
bad that we're willing to say, do, or be anything that other people want us to be, right? And when I first relaunched the brand, I started with the team, right? Like, okay, so I got A, B, C, D, E, and we're all gonna do this. But I got so caught up in the lights, camera, action of it all that I lost myself, right?
Mm,
It went from being Courtney's corner to everybody's corner, and the
mm,
vision for what I wanted was put aside because I ended up wanting to people please. I ended up wanting everybody else to be happy, even if it cost me my own happiness. So like the
mm,
vision behind the show was lost. So the direction was lost because I was afraid that what I wanted may not have been enough. That
mm,
I may not have been enough. And I grappled with that. And people think, this may sound crazy, but COVID was one of the things that blessed me in a mighty way because it allowed me to find my voice and be
mm,
unapologetic about what I wanted, even if that meant I had to lose people to do so, you
Mhm.
know?
And I'm glad that you said that, because I think that with COVID, it made us all have that voice. Like for
Yeah.
me myself, I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do the interviews. I don't know if I want to do this, but that was because of coming from a radio standpoint. I was known as the manager, the promotions manager, to stay in your place. You can't
Yeah.
do this, you can't do that. And COVID allowed me to really use my voice and on this platform. I want to talk about your health journey.
Yeah.
And I found that your story is so moving and so inspiring. How did your health journey affect you growing up?
Um, it played a lot in kind of like my insecurity. You know,
Mhm,
it played a lot in the beginning in just like where I would be, what I wanted
mhm,
to do. Because I found myself so restricted, right? I found myself going through, what if I don't even make it till tomorrow because of
mhm,
what I was going through, right? So is my life even worth anything? I found myself
mhm,
existing but not living, right?
mm,
And I had to catch that, because if you don't, you will allow a disease or a sickness or illness to take over your body, to take over your mind, and to take over your spirit, and it will kill you just because it's allowing itself to infiltrate the very thing that it wasn't even given, and that's your life. And
mm,
I had to find my way back to some sort of stability where I knew that my life was bigger than the illness, that my
mm,
life was bigger than the circumstance, and that I needed to find a way to overcome it, right?
mm,
And even if that meant that I would die with the disease, at least people will be able to say he lived a life that he wanted to
mm,
live. He lived a
mm,
life that was according to what God will was, and he died with the legacy of letting people know that you don't give up, because I didn't get a right to give up. You know what I mean?
mm,
So when I think about the healing journey and the process that I went through even after I got my transplant, I realized that my life was bigger than me. My story was bigger than me, and by the grace of God, He allowed me the opportunity to be able to tell my story and not someone write it for me. You know?
mm. I love that. Writing your own story. I just think, just hearing that, and when I say it kind of is like I feel you. Like,
Yeah.
I know people that have dealt with that, same disease, but your um determination to live, your
Yeah.
determination to say, this is not going to beat me, I'm going to be it. And you did. And look at you now.
Mm.
You received your
Yeah.
transplant. You are this media mogul. You created Courtney's Corner. What is your inspiration from creating Courtney's Corner?
It allowed me the opportunity to dream big, right? To dream
Mm,
unapologetically, to go back to the kid that got sick. I got sick at a
mm,
very young age, so to go back and talk to that kid and remind him and tell him, you're here now, right? You're
mm,
you're you're here right now. Yeah,
mm,
you dealt with a lot for 9, 10 years. You dealt with a lot, but you overcame that. So let's get out of
mm,
that cage. Let's get out from under those covers, open the blinds, and let's go. We got work to do. You know what I mean?
mm.
And I realized that I needed somebody needed to hear the story and to be inspired to try again,
Yes.
regardless if you failed the first time. God is calling you to try again. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I 9, 10 years ago, I had to leave my dream to the side because I was sick and I had to go through this illness. I had to go through everything that I needed to teach me. But when I came out of it, God told me to try again. And if I
mm,
didn't try again, I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
mm. Oh, I love that. I Oh, don't get me to crying in here, Courtney, because it's so moving to really think that you went through all of this to hell and back, and you are here. You are an inspiration. You are a light, but it's like you never gave up. It's like you're that energizer
Yeah,
bunny that keep going and going and going and going. And one thing that stood out to me, it was like you got work to do. We all have
yeah,
a purpose, and your purpose is this. Your purpose
yeah,
is to spread your experiences with your health, and just you never quit, and you never gave up. You
yeah.
never
And it
you
and
you
it
never
wasn't
gave
easy.
up.
It was not easy. People think that, oh well, you just were able to slide through it. No, There was times in my life where I wanted to just lay in the bed and allow myself to just go through whatever I was going to go through, right? It was going to happen regardless. That's what I kept telling myself. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I realized that I wasn't born for nothing less than greatness.
Yes.
But none of
Yes.
us are, right? None of us
Yes.
are. You know what I mean? It's what we choose to do, what we allow ourselves to learn from the things that we are going through, from the circumstances that we are put in. Do we rise from that, or do we allow that to defeat us? And I chose to try again. I chose to trust God. I chose to be a light for people who were in a place where no one was telling them these things. You know what I mean? Like, and having us, and I want to say this because I think that people get lost on this, and realizing that I cannot get through this alone. Right? I had a team of people, a group of people, a village of people who inspired me, who kept me motivated, who kept me going, even when I was like, I'm done. I'm over this. Every year that I was on dialysis, every year I would get to a place in my life where I was waiting for a kidney. Every single year. And it was around the anniversary that my kidney had failed. And every year I would say to myself, God, what is wrong? What is wrong? What am I doing that I'm still on this machine? And 9 years later, I had to remind myself that that's not the prayer that I should be praying, because there are people next to me who are dying, and I'm still alive to tell a story. I'm still alive to be able to have finished school. I was still alive to be able to get my first place and to be a manager for one of the biggest restaurants in New York City. I was able to to make great accomplishments even in spite of my illness. It didn't beat me. I beat it. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I love it. I love it. And with you saying that, you remind me so much of my friend. She received her kidney actually last year. And all through college, I knew about, her illness, kidney failure, and just hearing your story, and it just brought me back, because the same thing that you went through, she went through. The same thing that you said, she got to a place, whereas, okay, God, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I doing? But it was that her purpose. She said, Ashley, I meant to be here. I have a purpose. And she just, it was just something about her spirit. And I just connected that with you when you just said what you said. I want to talk about a little bit about your book. It's entitled My Kidneys Failed Me, But God Didn't. And I thought the title was really amazing, and it stood out to me. It's very inspirational. But what made you want to write this book, to share such a personal journey?
So there was up until COVID, once I got my transplant, I went ahead and I just lived my life, right? As if the kidney transplant and the journey never existed. I didn't speak about it. I didn't want to deal with it. I kind of buried it and put it to the side, and I went on trying to just live the best life that I could. And it wasn't until COVID that I realized that you can't escape from that journey, because that journey is your purpose. That journey was your testimony. And it's not just for you, right? It's for people whom you may never meet, that need to hear that, once again, God reigns in spite of it all. God reigns. He's able to do exceedingly and abundantly, but they need to see that through you. Sometimes people don't even know who God is or who Jesus is. And you are the symbol of who I am. You represent who I am. So the picture is bigger than you. And I remember being on the show. Funny enough, I was on my show and I brought on a therapist, because COVID was a hard time.
Yes.
And I wanted to bring a therapist on my show because I felt like there were people who just needed that support system. They needed to know what was going on. They were going through grief, and it was hurting a lot of people. And I felt like this was a perfect way to put her on the platform, celebrate her, but to also give her room and space to attach herself with people who are going to need her for however long they need her for. So I get on the show, and she flips the entire script. And literally, I don't give my guests any questions or whatever. It's more like, a conversation. I don't want you to feel like like this is an interview. And I remember sitting there having a conversation, and she goes, "So we're making this about you." And I'm like, "Okay, God, okay. So you got this is live. So you got two choices. You could either bang it on her and go back to business, right? Or you can jump in on this thing head on and get to this place. So after the interview, I was like, why did you do that? Right? Why did you feel like that was okay to do on my show? And she said to me, because you are hiding from a healing that is going to bless a nation of people that's going to come after you. And I was just like, so you have to act like you know me, you don't know me. What I realized was I wasn't healed. I was hurting and using everything, even Courtney's Corner, to escape the pain of what I went through. Being on dialysis at a young age was the hardest thing I've ever had to endure. Losing my parents was the hardest thing I ever had to endure. And I buried all of that while going through this illness. And I needed to remind myself that, yeah, my kidneys failed me, but God didn't fail me. You know what I mean? And when I thought about the title, I thought about the blank space of other people's lives, right? It may not be your kidneys. It may be an addiction. It may be cancer. It may be whatever it is, but know, trust, and believe that God won't fail you if you trust him. You know what I mean? And I needed to be the one to do that. So when I wrote the book, even though that was my journey, I realized that somebody else's journey needed to be in that title. So whatever you're going through, whatever it is, that thing may fail you, because it will fail you if you trust in that thing and not God, but know that he won't fail you at the end of the day.
Ooh, I love, listen, I think you're like speaking to me, because, you know, I deal with mental health, and I'm an advocate for that, you know, anxiety, depression. And sometimes I feel like, God, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing my prayers. And, you know, sometimes my faith is tested. But it seems to me like when you were going through your own journey, your own health battles, it's like your faith never wavered. It's like
it definitely did. it definitely did. And I shared this in my book. You know, there was a point where I was living the life that I wanted to, right? I'm in my 20s. And I chose to live my life the way that I wanted to live. But when I got to a place where everything that I thought that I wanted, I didn't want, and I got called for a kidney transplant in 2014. I even shared this. And I get to the table. I'm on the table, literally ready for the procedure. And the guy is like, listen, you're going to breathe in, and when you wake up, you're going to be on the other side. You're going to have a transplant. And I'm getting ready because I'm like, okay, I got things to do. You know, I'm ready to get to this party. Like, I got a life to live, you know? And the doctor runs in and he goes, nope, you can't have it. Wow. And I remember being in the room in 2014, like this, like, where's Ashton at, right? Where's Ashton? Because something is wrong. This cannot be my life right now. You put me on this thing. You tell me that, you know, to pray to you, and that you're going to make sure I'm okay. And then I get to this place, and now you're taking away the gift that you told me that belongs to me. And I remember getting home and dropping to my knees and screaming and crying and throwing things around because I felt like God failed me. And when I got up, it was as if I was having a come into Jesus moment, because I could see my life flash before my eyes, and none of that included God. None of that included my faith. None of that included me staying true to my word and doing my part to prepare for this kidney. And if I would have gotten it, I would have died. Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. And I had to wait 3 extra years to prepare myself and to go through what I needed to go through to get here. And in that moment, I realized that my life is not my own. And when we think about prayers, it's not a wish list that God is supposed to grant to us. We need to meet him in the middle. And a lot of times our prayers aren't being answered because we are not preparing ourselves for what we want to receive. We're acting as though it's supposed to happen when we want it to happen on command when we're happy. But I promise, and I tell you people, I tell everybody this: when you pray to God to answer, he already answers it. It may take 9-10 years for it to get there. It may take 20 minutes for it to get there. But the blessing and the praise already answered. But you got to go through what you need to go through to be ready for the gift. Because once you get it, it's not a blessing for you, but a blessing for other people.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, Courtney, listen. Like, really, listen. We're going to church in here today. Like, literally. I love that, because sometimes I feel like, and this is just me being real, I feel like, you know, with being a Black woman in media, it has been very tough for me working in radio. And when I lost my job due to COVID, I felt like that was the end of the world. I
Yeah.
still kind of feel like that, but just having that confirmation, which you just said, is really, comforting to know to just keep praying. It may not happen when you want it, but he's always right on
Yeah.
time. So I feel comfort in what you just said, because really what you went through, this is really inspiring.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, just thinking about this is like God gives his toughest battles to his toughest warriors, and you
Yeah.
are a warrior, and you
I
came
wanna
out on the other side, and you're preparing people to continue to go through that battle. Like, we're going through the storm, keep going, you're gonna come
yeah.
out on the
You
other
know,
side. It's
you
like,
mentioned something about a job, and I want to speak to that if you allow me to. You mentioned losing your job. And I remember during COVID, I lost my job. Right, I lost my job. Um, Everything shut down. Right, so I couldn't work. And that part, and I shared it with some people, but I'm gonna share it with you as well. We were going to be signed to a production deal, Courtney's Corner, and we had got everything set up for that season. I was literally getting ready to announce the partnership with the major network and all of these great things. And we had the studio, all of the stuff that we needed to have. I even took pictures with my team. Like we were literally getting ready to like do a full press tour of this. I made it, right. Like everything that I prayed for, I got it. And COVID happened, and there was murmurs of COVID, but you don't. In New York City, nobody cares, right? Like nobody got time. And I remember people saying like COVID is happening, people are getting sick. This is happening, and I'm saying to myself, okay, but we got a season to do, right? We got a season to do, and I remember distinctly when they shut New York City down, the production people saying to me at the company, unfortunately, we can't move forward with the project because COVID is happening, and we don't, we can't pitch this right now because there's so many things going on with COVID. And I remember saying to myself, God, like, I worked my behind off of this. You told me to do this, and it's not happening. So when COVID first started, I gave up on Courtney's Corner. I put it to the side. The team that I had, I let them go because, like, guys, we're not doing this, right? And I'm getting to the point of this. So I got COVID, and it was probably the worst thing I ever had to experience. I didn't even know what it was. I just got it, right. And when the first time I got it, when it originally happened, I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even do anything because my body was just so weak. And when I came out of that, I remember saying to myself, God, like, I've worked my behind off for Courtney's Corner. I don't have anything right now, right? I can't even go back to that production company because they're already 10 steps ahead of whatever we were supposed to be doing. And that's a done deal. What am I supposed to do now? And I remember sitting here and I had my banner like in something, and I was going to clean it up. And when I looked at the banner, it was just like one-on-one, right? Like you got so caught up in the lights and the camera and the fans and all of these things that you lost, once again, the vision behind your why. You lost the fact that at one point in time, it was just you and the camera, and you were just you were just being impactful, but you lost your voice. And I cannot allow you to speak about me or to share your blessing with thousands of people when you're not true to who you are. So you have to, where I get that phrase try again from is that, right? Like we are all in seasons right now where we may be mentally unstable. We're going through a lot because our lives are in shambles, right? But we have to trust our gifts enough to make room for us. So when you think about not having a job, I think of that job wasn't prepared for what you wanted to bring to the table. So the job that you're going to get is going to allow you to shine bright because it needs you to operate. So I challenge you to try again, but go bigger because you can't go any lower. You can't go any lower than that. You know what I mean?
And I love that. I thank you for just, sharing that and speaking life into me because, you and I both know working in media, it ain't for the weak. You gotta have tough skin to be in this business. It ain't for the weak.
Yeah.
I want to pivot and talk about, your shows because like I said, you being this media mogul, you have Courtney's Corner, you have one-on-one with Courtney, you have all these businesses, these shows that are coming up, and you're getting ready to begin season 3, correct, of your show.
So we're actually ending season 4 of
Season 4,
one-on-one,
okay.
and we're getting ready to start season 5 in the fall.
Season 5 in the fall. So you really have been not going nonstop. Like
Yes.
it's just really been going left and right. So tell me about your upcoming season and what can we look forward to?
So what we're for the first time in a while, we're ending in the summertime with season 4 because I need a break, right? Like, I'm just gonna be honest. I need a break. Like, I do shows like every week. I do like 4 or 5 or 6, and it's a lot to put on one person. Like, I still got a life to live outside of that. But with season 5, we've now partnered with so many different other media outlets, which are streaming the show and having the show on their platform. And one of the things that I was blessed to be able to have which is a bonus. I think this is a bonus. The celebrities that we have that are coming on the show this next season are going to blow your minds, because I remember there was a time where I was begging people to come on the show, begging people to support my dream and support my vision. And now these PRs and these media outlets are reaching out to my team or reaching out to myself and asking to be a part of the vision. And I feel like if I didn't try again, right? If I didn't go for it full head on, I would be here hoping and praying and wishing that I did. You know what I mean? So with season 5, we're gonna have a new look. You know what I mean? You gotta spice it up. You know what I mean? We're gonna keep on with the guests, but we're also going to add I wanted to add a musical part to it. So like my show, when I first started, we used to have underground guests come on who have so much talent, and they get lost in the underground aspect of it all because people don't want to give them a shot. So we are now bringing them to the forefront, allowing them to perform and come on and do what they do best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're adding that aspect, because my thing is, working in media, these underground artists, they tend to be very timid. They tend to be shy, but this is your time to shine. If you want to get noticed, if you want to say, hey, I saw you on Courtney Starks show. Let's talk about a deal or something. This is the time to do it. This is the time to go ahead.
And we are also which is something that I really wanted to do, because I love, I believe in networking. I believe in community. I believe it, no matter where in the media world we are all tied to each other, period. And for the first time in all of the seasons, I am going to be bringing on co-hosts during spots of the show to do what they do, right? Like, I know it's my show, but now go and show yourself out. Like, this is about you. We want to big you up in what you do and make it happen. We all could win together. You know what I mean? There's no competition.
And that's the thing. It's no competition. Everybody has a place to eat right here. And that's one thing I feel like a lot of people don't understand. It's not a competition. Hey, it's room. My table is room for everybody.
Yes.
And, shout out to you for giving people that platform to do their thing and really don't see it as competition, because at the end of the day, we all we got.
That's so true. That is so true.
The other races, they're going to unify. They're going to look out for their own. But on our end, that is something we don't do. And I feel like your platform, my platform, we at least give people the opportunity to come on, talk about your journey, do your music, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, it's room for everybody to succeed.
Talk about it.
It's room for everybody. And that's one thing I just, I preach about, and I see so many times, is like, we are not unified when it comes to things like this. And I love that your platform does that.
Yeah. And I think, even when you think about community, right? Like, we're going through a lot of these things. You hear about all of these shootings and killings and, all of these things. But once again, that's because, like you said, we aren't unified. We aren't having conversations. And when I mean by conversations, I don't mean jumping on social media and partnering up and saying Black Lives Matter. I mean talking to your neighbors, to the people
Mm-hmm.
living in your communities and
Mm-hmm.
having these same conversations. How are we
Mm-hmm.
going to be better for our, how are we going to be better for the village that you're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
raising right now
Mm-hmm.
when we don't even
Mm-hmm.
know each other?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
And
know
your
you.
and your platform does actually uh touch on topics like that, like
Yeah,
suicide awareness, like mental health. That is something in our community we don't talk too much about, but your
yeah,
platform does. And that's one thing, like when I saw your YouTube and you're talking about it, I'm like, wow, other platforms we don't do that. You don't
yeah,
see that. And that's something that we got to start. It starts in our community. Like you said, it
yeah.
starts with, the next door neighbor. It starts with us, because at the end of the day, we all we got.
We all we got. That's it.
Hmm. Hmm. I want to talk about how your brand expanded.
Yeah.
Um, you started hosting different events, especially the Change Starts With Us Summit. Can you elaborate on that and tell me how you got involved with doing that?
Yeah, so that was my first event that I think I ever threw underneath
Mm-hmm.
my brand.
Mm-hmm.
What I during this time, so I started when I relaunched Courtney's Corner. One of the
Mm-hmm.
main inspirations was because we had Trayvon Martin die, Michael Brown died, Sandra
Mm-hmm.
Bland died, and I realized that we're talking about change, but like I said before, I'm talking about change to somebody who lives in Egypt or somebody who lives in South Carolina, and even though that's great, you want to be able to start conversations. What is happening in the neighborhoods we live in? So we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about change and we're talking about change and all things we want to do. It starts with us, right? In our homes, locally. We're talking about, we can't we can't educate and inform and engage when
Mm-hmm.
I can walk by you every single day and not even say good morning.
Mm-hmm.
Not even say hi, how you doing? How's your family? How's your son? How's your daughter? You know what I mean? Like, how can we talk about change? We can't change anything just being on social media. It's not
Mm-hmm.
real. Because when I turn this off,
Facts.
when I turn this off, I have a neighbor who I hate just for no reason, just because somebody told me she was nasty, instead of me going out and being the person to outreach. So when I made that event, I had my inspiration was the change is not so big. The change is learning to love one another in the
Mm-hmm.
spaces that we live in right
Mm-hmm.
now. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
I need you to bring that down to the South, especially in my community, my hometown. Listen, I'm from a small town, and I'm like, yeah, they need some changes in the city. Yeah, we need you to come down here to the South, especially to Alabama. Please come
Oh
down here.
man,
I'm telling you.
I would love
But
to.
Courtney, I just want to thank you for just stopping by to sip and sit. And I know you have so many other new projects coming out. So for anybody, for your supporters, for my supporters, please let us know how we can get in contact with you. If we want to interview you, how can we get in
Yeah.
contact with you?
So everything is at Courtney Starks. Thankfully, my name just kind of speaks for itself now. So everything Courtney Starks, Courtney Starks official. You can go to the website at www.courtneyscornerllc.com. I'm chatty on here, so you can
Mm-hmm.
follow me at Courtney Starks official. Follow my page. Follow the brand and just support the people who come on the show because they have major stories to tell.
Yes, and please support him. If you have not, go by his website, follow him, and subscribe to his YouTube. He has interviewed so many really celebrities, a lot of celebrities like Sherry Shepherd. You recently interviewed the guy from The Shy. I do watch that.
Yes.
Jake from The Shy. I forgot
Yes.
his real name. You interviewed actors like Robert Richard.
Yes.
Like you are like the big dog up there now. You are like the big dog. So if you have not already, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow him. I need all y'all to support him. Support our Black media host, please, and
Yes.
make sure
Yes.
you tune in to season 5 because Mr. Courtney Starks is coming for you. He's coming straight with no chaser in the fall.
Let's
So
go.
make sure you support him. Courtney, before you get out of here, I always ask this to everyone that I interview. What is a quote or a phrase that you live by each and every day?
My phrase, and I'm sorry for the shameless plug. You can get it now on my website, but my phrase is, "You don't get the right to give up."
Ooh,
you don't get the right
Mm.
to give up. You know, there are so many things in this world right now that can break us down and drop us to our knees. But once again, our stories and our testimonies live on in the lives of those we don't even know. They're looking
Mm.
at us as inspirations. They're looking at us as go-getters, and we are paving way, right? Who's going to be the next Martin, the next Malcolm, the next
Mm.
Rosa, the next Oprah, the next whoever? It starts with
And the
us,
next
right?
Courtney Starks.
who's gonna
Throw that out there. The next Courtney Starks.
who somebody is looking up to us and saying they want to be us or be like us or do the things that we do. So you can't give up, because if you do, then you're telling people that it's okay to be that way, and we don't get that right. Our stories are too big.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Make sure you visit his website, follow him. Courtney, thank you so much. And this is not going to be the last time you're coming on the Sip to Sip, because you family now, honey.
Thank you so much.
When you leave here, you family.
I love y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Until next time, I will see you next week for another episode of the Sip and Sip.